But my lens is always pointing towards the hard, so that, and the pain, so that once I change my relationship with that, what's on the other end is joy, right? The residual of that, or ease, or tranquility, or peace, right? It's just like, so that's why I talk about emotions, because it's what's on everyone's mind. And yeah, without, it's just like, yeah. And a lot of the times, most of the time, by the time they get into like the classes, there's some sense of the water that they've been swimming in, that reference makes sense. Like this, like the little bit of delusion, and then kind of stepping outside of the delusion and realizing that I'm suffering. Like, have you ever had this experience where you're like kind of doing some work, or like maybe homework or whatever it is, and then all of a sudden there's like construction outside, and it's kind of annoying, and but you kind of acclimatize to it, and all of a sudden it's just kind of white noise, but then it stops. And you realize this is like, I've been slightly agitated for the last 2 hours and not even noticing it, right? Um, Anyways, so that's why I talk about emotions, because I'm really wanting to bring it into the forefront of the people's consciousness, and to normalize, and to yeah, remind people that there's nothing wrong with them for feeling these things, and that they change, and that compassion is, and for this perspective, the only wise response.
Hmm. I think part of it is just understanding the importance of the mind. Like this question, what influences your life the most? What has the biggest impact on your life? You could say it's your, geographical location. You could say it's your race, your age, your gender, your job, whatever it is. And I really think the answer is your mind. Like your mind has the biggest impact on your life. Just whatever that, that quote, you don't see the world as it is, you see the world as you are. And just this idea that, like, I think from a young age, I understood that consciousness, or the lens that you see things through, is the biggest determinant in how your days on earth feel, like how your life is. And so I think just that gift of seeing how much that matters, aside from any like specific outcomes or attributes of meditating regularly and learning about it, is just like having that as an orientation, I think has been the biggest influence, is that I see any choice I make in terms of inclining the mind towards being more anxious or more calm or more judgmental or more kind, not just through formal sitting practice, but in like who I surround myself with and what media I consume and how I structure my time. Like the way that I just see the mind as plastic. Like, so that quote that I said, I think at the retreat, the Sylvia Boorstein quote, that the mind is like tofu, it takes on the flavor of whatever you soak it in. I
I
think
love
that's the
that.
biggest gift of my experience, like growing up exposed to mindfulness and throughout my formative years of youth and, into my adulthood. Just the gift of seeing the mind as subject to change, and both the responsibility of that, of like, whoa, I better take care of this thing. Like my mind is going to determine so much. And the gift of that, of just seeing like, daily practices of gratitude, or a connection with nature, or the things that it's like you can just do things and your mind feels different, and then your mind is like a nice place to live, and you can just be your own friend. And not all the time, of course, there are still moments of like total mental fiasco, but I think just the empowerment of knowing that I can cultivate qualities of mind, and that's going to be a huge factor in happiness. And of course, I still go chasing after happiness in places like shopping or food or other things, but like knowing on a deeper level, because I was exposed to it at a younger age, that enduring happiness and meaningful happiness is um, kind of, as they say, an inside job. And so I think that's the biggest gift of having a long-term practice, is just going through life with that as a priority and understanding the importance of that work.